Hey, what's up guys, it's JJ Ricochet back with another video. And today we are looking at a video on the Empire series. We'll be looking at what if Indonesia made an empire. So, I'll be coloring in all of these islands. There are a lot of islands. Can't believe I missed like 4 times. But yeah, Indonesia will be forming an empire. They replaced their government with a imperialist government, an expansionist government, and the population is in support of this. So the first country that they are going to go after is Papua New Guinea. Just gonna color in all of these islands over here as they go to war with all of them as well, apparently. And yeah, let's get into this scenario. So Indonesia starts its invasion of Papua New Guinea from the north, going across and trying to take their northern coast. They eventually get over to these islands over here and start to move from the south of Papua New Guinea as well, eventually snaking around the coast and capturing this little handle down here and completely encircling the Papua New Guinea country, eventually making quite a large encirclement around all of them. They start knocking out these islands one by one, and eventually all of these outside islands over here get invaded and taken over, and Papua New Guinea just surrenders. So here's the peace treaty. It is just going to be full annexation. By Indonesia. And yeah, so just having gained a lot of land, they will take a little bit to core all of their land and convert everyone into Indonesians, put down any rebellions that might occur, and then they decide to go after Malaysia, Singapore, and I accidentally colored East Timor. Yeah, they go after East Timor and they take over this. It's pretty obvious that this would be an easy war to fight. So they go after Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore. And yeah. So Malaysia will have some success at the start as they're preparing for this. They will invade through the north of the country. While over here there is a landing made in Singapore, taking the city and snaking up the coast of Malaysia, which is, I guess, continental Malaysia. They take this island over here, and as Malaysia starts pushing further into this island over here, they do get pushed in from the north by Indonesian ships and armies that are in Indonesian territories. They eventually take this entire little area over here and invade into Brunei, taking the country over and capitulating it. We then see a major pushback by the Indonesian army, a major counteroffensive happen, which pushes Malaysian troops all the way back to a little bit of territory gain, but also allows for a massive push in, which eventually encircles these troops and eventually wipes them out as Malaysia gets smaller and smaller over in non-continental Malaysia, and a huge encirclement is formed as continental Malaysia is slowly being wiped out. I don't know where their capital is, but let's just say it's been captured. All these troops surrender over, and Malaysia eventually surrenders. So yeah, in the peace treaty, they will be fully annexed. I don't care enough to change that back. And yeah, so we see full annexation, and Indonesia again takes another break from invading countries to core the provinces that they've just gained and convert all the people into Indonesian so that no rebel uprisings happen. And then once all that's done, they decide to go after more island nations, aka the Philippines. Now, the Philippines are interesting because they are a U.S. ally, and they are also allied, I think, with Japan and South Korea and Taiwan. But we will be pushing that out the window and just doing Indonesia versus the Philippines. So, the Philippines will push up, taking a few of these southern islands down here, and eventually taking this big one. They take all of these southern islands, pushing up, island hopping, until eventually they reach up here, where the Philippine army has been holding out, and a stalemate is reached until it is finally broken, and Philippine troops push back and take a few of their islands back before another stalemate's reached and broken, and Indonesia takes this, and then one final stalemate is reached, and we see a peace treaty being formed, which is just going to look something like this, with Indonesia losing most of its biggest island over here, and then just being reduced to that, and then the rest of it being annexed by the Indonesian Empire. Just like that. So Indonesia is looking pretty big now. And they decide to go after these islands. These islands are Indonesian now. They decide to go after Thailand as well. And they declare war on Thailand, which a few countries are just kind of done. They don't really like Thailand that much, but Myanmar is going to join on the side of Thailand to stop Indonesia. Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam all put aside their differences and join this coalition against them. The Philippines joins, Taiwan joins, and yeah, I would have Australia joining, but I don't think they would. They don't really care. But yeah, Indonesia now has to fight a coalition. But first, they do a little bit of pushing into the Thai territory. They have been preparing for this for a few years now, so they push up, and they take this this full peninsula. They also push into the Philippines again, with more people and script, and they finally take out the Philippines. They make a landing in Taiwan. Oh, that landing's gone. Oh, there's a landing in the Philippines. So, yeah. They push more into Myanmar and into Thailand, trying to make a spearhead to cut off a huge number of troops, which is eventually successful, and the troops get killed or surrender. They push through Cambodia and into southern Vietnam, but eventually are just stopped because jungles. They push more into Myanmar. I don't know where the jungles are in here, so there are going to be no jungles. Yeah. So yeah, Myanmar eventually gets its land taken and they opt to surrender. Thailand surrenders, and with that, they start moving their troops over, but Laos, before the troops can get there, take a lot of the land that was just surrendered and pushes into it with the help of Vietnam and Cambodia. And eventually, Vietnam troops get down and push. I almost said finish. Push Indonesian troops out of Cambodia fully. Indonesia pushes back up into. I almost called it Finland. What is it with Finland today? They push back up into the Philippines and take over that completely. They push into the recently surrendered Myanmar area and into northern Laos, but they stop at the Vietnam border because we all know how hard it is to invade Vietnam. No one's been successful. But yeah, eventually they get all the way up and take northern Laos. Laos surrenders. Thailand, and with that, the Laos troops in Thailand surrender. Cambodia opts to just, leave the war, as well as Vietnam, who signs for white peace. And Taiwan is the only thing left, and they decide not to surrender just yet as they push back into the Philippines and liberate half the island, but that was conscription and they ran out of troops and they opt to back out of the war. There we go. So now we can look at a peace deal, which will just be Indonesia taking the rest of the Philippines over, including me erasing this line. They will be taking a good sizable chunk out of these countries over here, including southern Myanmar, all the way up through Thailand and Laos, eventually going down through these countries, and even taking a bit of Cambodia, but stopping at the Vietnam border. So they take all of this land. Alright, as I was saying, they take all of this land. And, yeah, no one really decides to stop them. But the rest of Laos and Thailand opt to join together. I realized that I was not on the right tool. There we go. Opt to join together into one thing, which they invite Cambodia to join, and they do. Myanmar decides to stay out of this, but they do join with Bangladesh. I don't know the story behind that, but they decide to. So, yeah. And Indonesia fully annexes the rest of this. They decide that puppet states are for losers, and we want all of this land, so haha, in your face, we won this war, you didn't, haha. So they decide to fully annex all of this. And yeah, that is the full Indonesian Empire. They conquered all of Papua New Guinea, all of the Philippines, all of almost all of Thailand, a bit of Laos, a bit of Cambodia, and a bit of Myanmar. They also conquered all of Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore. And all of these extra islands that I don't know the name of. We saw a few unifications after between Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and then between Bangladesh and Myanmar. And then Vietnam just stayed the same. But eventually I do believe that they would go to war with... both of these countries would eventually go to war with the Thailand, Laos, Cambodian unification, which would cause something like this to happen, which would look, something like Vietnam pushing in from the south and from the north, and then Indonesia pushing through like this. A little bit of skirmishes would happen on the border back and forth, but they would be pushed off as accidents, and no war would be declared. But eventually the end borders would look something like this, with Indonesia gaining a bit of land down south, quite a lot of land actually, and then a little bit of land up in the north, whereas Vietnam would get the rest. Almost forgot to turn off analyzed rendering. And yeah, so that will do it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this Empire video. It was really just because I didn't want to record today. I didn't want to record a mapping video today, but I needed to get something out there. But I do hope that you all enjoyed this video. And I will see you all in the next one. JJ Ricochet, out.